I'm Doug. This is Backcountry Pilgrim, a channel all about hiking, camping, backpacking, and the gear that goes with it. Today I am continuing my Getting Started Backpacking series, and we're going to talk about safety, health, and hygiene. Probably the biggest concern that most new hikers and backpackers have is safety. How am I going to take care of myself on the trail, especially if something bad happens? Closely related to that is the concern about how am I going to take care of myself on a day-to-day basis without access to the kinds of facilities and products that I typically have on a day-to-day basis when I'm back at home. So probably the most basic gear that you're going to want to have a look at in this area is a medical kit. Your medical kit is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's got your first aid items like Band-Aids and medicines and things that you would need to repair some kind of damage that is going on with your bod. Now, medical kits are very easy to go overboard on. While most medical kits can fit in the palm of your hand, I have seen some that go up to backpack size that are really for more emergency responder type situations. And of course, the problem is the bigger the med kit, the more weight you are carrying and the more volume you are taking up in your pack. And these are things you typically want to avoid, especially in a situation where you might not even need the gear you're taking. But it is admittedly difficult to think about what you're going to need in the backcountry because a lot of the same things can happen out there that can happen in the front country around your home. Now, there are different theories on the best way to handle a med kit. I'm just going to tell you mine. Now, the way I look at it, there are basically three different categories of things you might want in that medical kit. The first category are health and hygiene items that you use on a fairly regular basis, even when you're not hiking. This would be things like vitamins or medicines that you take on a regular basis or that you need on a regular basis. For example, maybe something like Tums or ibuprofen. You definitely want to bring enough of all of those items to take care of yourself when you're on trail. Another thing from category 1 that at least I hope most people have in category 1 is toothbrush, toothpaste, and floss, maybe even mouthwash, soap, shampoo, basically all the kinds of things you use to get ready to go in the morning. What I would suggest here is going to a drugstore or somewhere that carries travel supplies and get yourself a travel size bottle or just a set of bottles that you can refill yourself for the different products that you absolutely know you're going to need. Personally, I like Dr. Bronner's soap because it covers a wide variety of different products, and when I'm in the backcountry, I'm not really that worried about having exactly what I use at home. And for my toothbrush, I have a very lightweight small toothbrush that I got from Z-Packs, but you can also just take your home toothbrush, and when maybe it's about halfway through its life cycle, just snap off the handle, toss it in the bag, and you've got a little ultralight toothbrush. Now, what about deodorant? There's a bit of a controversy about wearing deodorant in the backcountry. Personally, if I'm only going out for a single day and I'm just doing a day hike, I might bring some with me in case I go to a restaurant or something afterwards. But during the actual hike, during the backpacking trip, deodorant is something of a luxury item because it's going to wear off quickly. And although it might feel good to put it on in the morning and feel like you don't stink, there are other parts of your body that are probably stinking pretty bad. Your clothes probably stink. It's going to wear off fairly quickly, and you're going to spend the rest of the day stinking anyway. So personally, for me, the weight, the volume, the potential for melting, all these issues make it kind of pointless on a backpacking trip. But if it is something that would make you feel better, you do you. The next category would be things that are fairly regular in the backcountry, even though they're not something you regularly use in the front country. These would be things like bug spray or sunscreen that you need when you are outside being exposed to the elements for a long period of time, but that you don't necessarily need when you're just hanging around the house or the office. And personally, I prefer sprays in both sunscreen and bug juice because I can use those as a rub-on by simply spraying it into my hand, or I can also reach the harder to get to areas and I don't need to worry about having to rub it all in or having some big weird streak on my face when I'm done. Like the first category, I think that everything in category 2 should come along with you. Another thing that I bring in the insect repellent category is a bug net. I have used these so many times and they are absolutely wonderful. It's basically a very fine mesh net, super lightweight. You almost can't even feel it, but you put it on over your head, throw a hat on or something, and it basically makes a barrier over your head, face, and neck and ears that bugs cannot get through. And just know that I can breathe. I'm not going to inhale a cloud of insects if I walk through them. Those whiny mosquitoes are not actually touching me. If you get irritated by insects like I do, it just psychologically, if nothing else, it can be a real pleasure to have that net on. Category 3 items for the med kit are your basic emergency items. These are the sorts of things that you don't use very regularly at home or on the trail, but that are likely enough that you'd kind of feel stupid if you didn't bring them. This would be things like Band-Aids, gauze, leukotape, blister care, the sorts of things that you don't usually plan on using, but you definitely want to have on hand. So the kinds of category 3 items that I carry are Band-Aids, leukotape, some anti-infection ointment. These sorts of things are needed regularly enough that it would be kind of dumb not to have at least a few. You may want to include items that help with allergies. There are things in the backcountry you might be very allergic to that you don't realize are a big problem because you don't run into them very often. This may even include carrying an EpiPen or something if you have a serious allergy to bee stings, peanuts, and that kind of thing. You don't know what you're going to run into out there. It's not a bad idea to have something that can help you out there. Now, category 4, which I don't carry, would include the things that maybe like an EMS person would know how to use. This would be CPR masks or splints, or the kinds of things that you sort of need a bit of medical training to know how to use. Now listen, if you know how to use those items, and you are okay with the weight and you think it's wise to have them, go for it. But one thing I would recommend is don't bring anything in your med kit that you don't know how to use. Because unless you are with somebody that knows how to use those items, you're probably carrying them unnecessarily, both because it is very unlikely that you will need them, and also because you're probably not going to know what to do with them even if you do. At a certain point, you have to just accept the fact that what you're doing has some inherent risk, and bringing a bunch of gear with you that makes you feel psychologically safe when in reality you are no safer than if you didn't bring it is really kind of silly. So what if there is an emergency? Well, if you're solo hiking, you're going to want to be able to signal people. So a good loud whistle is a pretty standard piece of gear to bring with you for those situations. If you have a backpack, check the sternum strap, because a lot of companies build in a whistle into the sternum strap clip. Try it out. Make sure it's loud enough. There are extremely loud whistles you can get on Amazon for fairly cheap. Tying one of those onto your shoulder strap is a great idea in case you fall down and you find yourself needing to signal, but maybe you can't speak, or maybe you're so far away that your voice isn't going to carry. Being able to just reach over and grab a super loud whistle is a great idea. What a lot of people, including myself, are starting to do nowadays is carry satellite communicator locators right on the pack. These devices run a few $100s, and then you pay a monthly fee. But what's great about them is that they use a satellite network instead of cell towers for their communications. And what that means is that you can Bluetooth into your cell phone and actually use them to send text messages. Or in an extreme emergency, they all come with a button you can push that will literally call emergency medical services and ping the satellite with your location so that you can be found. I have found this to be incredibly useful. I've never used it to call emergency services, but many times on the trail, my plans change. If I'm solo hiking and I plan to go one place and I get there, oh, the trail's closed. Well, I'm not just going to go home. I'm going to go somewhere else. But I want to make sure that the people who know where I'm supposed to be know that my plans have changed, and the ability to just shoot a quick text and let them know that has been extremely valuable. All right, the last thing we're going to talk about when it comes to safety, health, and hygiene is the dreaded bathroom. If you spend very much time in the backcountry, you are probably going to have to eventually go to the bathroom outside. Now, when it comes to number one, guys, I know we don't have much of a problem with this. We don't really need any gear to do it. Now, for the ladies, there is gear out there that can help you have the same experience that a guy does as far as not having to take your clothes down and squat. There are devices you can use that allow you to do your number one while standing. I will let you do your own research on that. I know when my daughter was younger, She just seemed to always have the worst timing when it came to when she had to go to the bathroom, and getting one of these devices for her was a total game changer. So, ladies, I would look into that if I was you. Now, of course, the thing that all of us have to deal with, and most of us dread the most, is number 2. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail about this. I actually have a video on pooping in the woods, but I just want to assure you that if you're just getting started backpacking, it's really not that big of a deal. In fact, the experience can be much more pleasant than using a regular bathroom. However, you are going to need to have some gear ready in your poop kit. And by poop kit, I mean literally having a bag with the stuff in it that you need that you can take with you. Obviously, you're going to want some toilet paper in that bag. It's not a bad idea to try to figure out about kind of what your cycle is and how much you use, and that way you'll know what to bring with you when you head out. Personally, I have found that because you are squatting and hugging a tree or something when you go, things tend to come out a lot better, and I don't need nearly as much toilet paper as I do if I'm using a regular toilet in a bathroom. But speaking of the bathroom, you're going to have to make your own in the form of what's called a cat hole. Yes, it's a hole in the ground that you dig to do your business in, and then cover up, tamp down when you're done. For that, you're going to need a trowel or a small shovel. Fortunately, like practically everything else having to do with backpacking, there are ultralight versions of this particular tool. You're going to want to pick one up because you're going to need it when it's time to go. In addition to the trowel and the TP, you might want to bring some wipes, you want to bring some hand sanitizer to get all cleaned up when you're done, and another piece of gear that you might want to look into is a Backcountry bidet. It's basically a little nozzle that fits onto a dedicated water bottle that lets you clean off down there when you're done. And in a situation where chafing and other issues from uncleanliness can be a big issue, it's not a bad idea to have when you're out hiking. My overall gear theory for safety, health, and hygiene is to consider, what do I use on a day-to-day basis at home? What do I use on a day-to-day basis outside on trail? And then finally, what kind of first aid type things can I sort of expect to need occasionally, even if it's not every day? If you've got those 3 things covered, you're probably going to take care of just about any situation you're going to run into. And really, planning for Category 4 involves so much more gear because there are so many things that could happen. It really just becomes ineffective to try to carry it all. Okay, well, those are my recommended items to keep you safe, healthy, and clean on the trail. I hope this video has been helpful to you. If it has, would you mind giving it a like? I would really appreciate it. And if you're not a subscriber, you might want to click that subscribe button and the bell if you want to know the next time videos drop. Until next time, I'm Doug. This is Backcountry Pilgrim. Thank you so much for watching.